Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to our continuing reviews of Marvel's She-Hulk, the series on Disney Plus, where we talk about what happens when superheroes become lawyers, and this week go to weddings. Um, Joining me as always from Enchantment of Eternity, it's Mark, Mr. Immortal. I'm sorry.
Indeed, yes. My seven wives would be very angry with you for getting
And of course, from Alyssa Jean's reviews, it is she Alyssa herself, Alyssa Jean.
Hello, thank you for having me. I literally just finished this episode 10 minutes ago, so I'm going to be here and talk about it.
Perfect, a fresh perspective. Well, I mean, we are doing it kind of the day of premiere, so I mean, it kind of makes sense. And joining us, of course, in the chat, Doc Moore. Doc, good to see you, man. And of course, our biggest fan in the world, Silver Surfer. Always great to see you. Yeah. And of course, if you do enjoy this review, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notifications, dance in a circle. Just enjoy your afternoon. We want to be part of your celebrations. Well, let's get into it. Speaking of celebrations of this week's episode, a admittedly standalone episode. I know there was a lot of expectations maybe for some fans coming off of the sneak tease from last week. And I have this to pose off of your opinion of this week's episode. Just pointing out that this is an interruption standalone episode, make it better or not? Mark, let's start things off with you. What did you think about this week's episode?
Yeah, it was all right. It was like standard like wedding, episodes. Made me think of Bridesmaids, which I've never seen and never will. But something along those lines. And I thought the B plot was really funny. This is why I chose the name. And it was interesting getting Jennifer in Jennifer form and having to wrestle with the different her identity crisis there. Yeah, some of the jokes and cliches in that wedding stuff was like, yeah, their typical stuff. But I didn't really hate it, but yeah, definitely not one of the better episodes.
Sure. I hear you. Alyssa, what about yourself? What did you think about this week's adventure? Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
To answer your question, I do think that it did make it better for me for some reason, because it made I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. Like, I don't know, so it kind of softened the blow because I knew what to expect. I actually was not expecting Daredevil to appear this week. I know there was a lot of speculation just because we got the helmet last week. I took that scene with the helmet like, oh, we're seeing Daredevil sometime this season, which we already knew. Sure. Like, I didn't think it had to be the following week, and in fact, I was thinking it probably wouldn't be. So I didn't have any expectations there. I did notice that she can't get a hold of Bruce because we know he's off in outer space. So sure. I'm wondering where the follow-up to that is going to be. And we get a little bit more on the people who are trying to get her blood. There's actually, I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but there's actually a really strong reason to believe that our theory is correct about the leader.
See, I heard it here first, folks. Yeah. Probably, maybe.
Unless you watch other YouTube channels that talked all about it, but it's because it's a comic book reference that I didn't get immediately, but that I heard another channel talk about. But in the 10 minutes before, I watched another channel really quickly before I came on here after I finished watching the episode. But yeah, so it actually moves the overall story of the season forward a little bit. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's a lot of wedding cliches, but I think that her line at the beginning actually did help soften the blow for me. I was like, because it was like, okay, cool, that's what we're getting. That's cool, that's fine. And I agree with Mark. I really enjoyed the B plot too. That was a really fun.
Yeah, I have to say this is one of those rare episodes where I did enjoy the B plot a lot more than the A plot, personally. And yeah, while you have it that I mean, I kind of agree with you, Alyssa, right? That saying it out front, again, at least you're being honest and straightforward. And really, it's in line with the tone and pace of the show. That's exactly what they're doing. It's like, hey, this is Jen Walters' adventure. I know you want to see everybody else, but inconvenient things happen in life, so we just have to deal with it.
Well, do you know what I thought when she said that line? She's like, "Oh, I know what you're thinking. This is a weird place in the season, an unexpected place in the season to have a standalone wedding episode." And I was thinking, actually, no, it seems like the perfect place, like, because most shows will have the kind of filler episodes or like standalone things in the middle of the season. That's where we are. So I was like, "Well, I disagree with you, Jennifer. I think this is actually the perfect place." But as far as the Daredevil of it all, I actually, like, after when I watched last week's episode, I saw the helmet. I was like, oh, well, yeah, of course we knew Daredevil's going to show up eventually. But I was doing the live stream with you last week. You guys had me convinced, or at least you, Darren, had me convinced that it was going to be next week, and then I had my expectations.
Well, I wasn't on. Yeah, that was Darren. I was not even on the live stream last week, and I never thought that he was coming this week, so it wasn't me.
Yeah. Well, again, just in lines, they had done, like, at the end of the episode, kind of the preview that's leading into the next one. So I was like, oh, that seemed to be a standard continuance. But you're right, Mark. This is where they put them. And I guess if you're looking at your standard 3-act structure, this is after the setter kind of mid-climax point where you always have the readjustment and the hero gets their stuff underneath them and, you know, gets prepared for the big 3rd-act finale. And we know she does have her super suit. I love the fact that Nikki was complaining, like, I want to see the suit. No, you're not seeing the suit now. It's almost a conversation with the audience. And again, I have to appreciate that tone. Also, the acknowledgement that, look, glitter sucks, folks. Please do not put glitter bombs inside of your invitations. I just had a kid's birthday party, and I'm still finding glitter everywhere in the house. So in the house, in the front, in the backyard, it gets everywhere. Please save people. But I did appreciate that kind of whole opening bit there with setting up the wedding and the horrors of just going into it. But yeah, I think we'll just sort of split things up. We'll just talk the betting. We'll talk the B story afterwards. Because again, it's another just very short episode. I think it's about, again, 21 minutes long all told. My one question that I have for everyone with the wedding is, I get that this is hey, you're invited to a wedding and things go wrong and you can't be yourself and nobody wants to hear your story. Did we ever get any kind of resolution or explanation of why Jen was like the shit upon person for the whole thing and then it just sort of ended? I don't know if we ever got an explanation of why this was happening. Again, I get it's a comedy and this is just why it does. But I was curious if you guys if you guys saw something I missed.
No, I think that is the only explanation. At least that's what I took, and that's why I found it cliche that the only explanation was, well, this is a comedy, and this is what they do in comedies. Isn't it funny that she's being used for everything, and her friend doesn't really appreciate her? It kind of speaks to like how both of them they weren't really friends. She was like, oh, I knew this person such a long time ago. It's weird they're inviting me to the wedding. But Jennifer was just going so she could like tell everyone how great she's doing now. So she had ulterior motives, and the bride was just going just so she could show her off or whatever, have her there and use her as a punching bag, apparently. So they weren't really friends. They each had ulterior motives, and I guess that was the main point of it.
So don't go to weddings for people you don't care about. That's really the ultimate story here.
Yeah, well, I always forget her name, but what's her face? Her friend told her, no, just say no. Like, why are you going to this?
Yeah, Nikki, yes.
Nikki, yeah.
She is the smart one in this episode, actually. The most competent, I think, overall, which is interesting.
Also, weddings are usually planned months, if not years in advance. Like, so was she just invited at the last second? Because it seems like she got that box with the glitter and everything, and she's packing up and going like the next day. Like, you don't usually get a wedding invitation, especially a big fancy one for a bridesmaid, like 2 days before the wedding or whatever it is. So
Sure. And again, it's sitcom weddings, so of course everything can all happen all at once, and there doesn't need to be any lead up or time or any of that. And I did appreciate the fact that while she does show up as She-Hulk, obviously, and I can't fault the bride for saying, "Hey, you're gonna outshine me at my wedding if the very fact that you're giant and you're 7 feet tall and green, and kind of stunning." So, I mean, I kind of get that, and yet her bridesmaid dress definitely seemed to be more She-Hulk sized than Jen sized. She was shuffling around in it afterwards.
Well, yeah, because she had it made tailored for She-Hulk because she was planning on going as She-Hulk, and she had to change into Jennifer and didn't have time to readjust the dress.
Fair, very true, very true. Let's see. How did Titania get to the wedding? Again, I realize this is not important, and I get that she's the date of some other guy they knew, but it's like, did they already know? Is that how she heard, or how are you tracking what's going on? And again, it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't matter because it's a sitcom, and that's the setup for it. But I was like,
oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, she said it was because she was dating a friend of the groom or something, but I just took it as but Jennifer was just like, "Oh, you weaseled your way into this wedding somehow." She just found a way to get in it. I don't know. I don't think it matters. I mean, she just figured out some way to weasel her way into it. It's actually not that hard to crush a wedding if you're really determined.
Yeah,
especially big ones with like 1 million people there. Like it's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah, and I think it would be easy for her to find out that Jennifer was going to be at the wedding because the big weddings like that, they have all these announcements, and I think that she was purposely tracking her and trying to find a spot where she could show up and kick her ass. And so she found out about this and thought it was the perfect way, so started dating some dude who was going there. So I think it makes sense.
She may or may not have been dating the dude. That might have just been her cover. Like, because I never saw any dude. Like, what dude was she dating? She's not dating anybody. I think that was just her cover. She found some other way to sneak in.
And in fact, if she was the one that convinced the bride to invite her old friend Jen Walters to the wedding, that would have been a cool little background thing. But again, I'm not saying important. It's good headcanon for any of you that are worried about that. It's all Titania's fault. She did the whole thing. Josh seemed nice. Like Josh.
Is Josh the dude that she was flirting with?
Josh was the dude that she was flirting with.
Really? Because I kind of took him as like, oh, he's working for the leader or whoever.
Yeah. When you said he seemed nice, I was like, a little too nice.
At the end, they do that nice bit where she can't answer her phone because she's having French fries with Josh, and then we get to the final scene.
I actually hope that he's not involved.
I agree.
Bad guys.
I hope so too, but I think he is.
That would be a bit of a cliche. It would be more interesting to me if he's actually like becomes a love interest for her.
Sure. Now, if the previous date guy that we had theorized, the Elon Musk.
Oh, yes, he's definitely working.
He's definitely on the edge. That would, See, I would go with that. And it's not like, well, let's try someone else smoother. But yeah, I'm already like, I think Jen deserves to have a good date and a good guy. So, yeah, I agree with you right there, Mark. I kind of hope that he's not, but they're definitely setting up that possibility, I think. Oh, also, question: did the wedding happen? And was that after she got the shirts and before she went to the cash bar? Do you think, or because I get
it's the wedding happened off screen.
We never even solved what the groom looks like.
Yeah, never met the groom. He's not important.
I thought they were going to pull that Josh was the groom, and that would be the big shock. I'm glad they didn't do that.
I didn't even think about it.
Like a comedic moment where she was hitting on then some guy and turned out it was the groom, and then she ends up sleeping with him and then ruins the whole wedding. I'm glad they didn't go that way.
I am glad they did not go with that. That would be, especially since he's the one that approached her. So it's not even like she was drunk and hitting on the groom. It was like, I'm at my wedding. Let me go meet one of the bridesmaids and hit him.
I really wanted to see Jennifer walk down the aisle with the dog. That's I felt robbed of that.
Yeah, and speaking of the dog, I think at that point, that's when I would have been like, take your shirts and I'm outie.
Wait, I missed something with the dog. I didn't get it. Like they showed the dog, and she was like, "Oh, Jonathan," or something like that.
Yeah, because all right. So at the start of the episode, they're like, we're gonna pair you up with someone to walk down the aisle." It's just like, yeah, sure, we got Jonathan, and everyone's like, "Oh, Jonathan's so great," and she's like, "Oh, great, I'm paired with Jonathan." And then later they have the scene where Jonathan turns out to be the dog, which is it's very contrived. Like people wouldn't do that if there was a dog. They would say you're paired up with the dog. They wouldn't say, "Oh, Jonathan's so great." Like, yeah. So that was
somehow I missed that bit. I didn't catch that she was supposed to walk down the aisle.
And personally, like if I were her, I would be like, "Fuck yeah, dog."
All right, you and me, Jonathan, we're dancing the night away with little puppy arms. Yeah. No, that was fun. Now I got to say, I did love seeing Tatiana Maslany just cutting a rug, drinking and dancing and having a further and further good time and all of that. Again, we all want to see more She-Hulk half the time. Maybe I'm just talking general audience stuff, but I do enjoy the time we get to spend with Tatiana Maslany just plain being her, because I think she looks great unto herself, and she is just freaking amazing to see playing this character on screen. She's having a blast, and it's easy for her to bring us along with her, I think. Let's see. Anything? Oh, yes. Okay. This is my other question is, what exactly was Titania's plan? It was obviously that she was going there to fight her, because that's what Jen guessed, and that's what Titania said, "No, I'm not." And then she sucker punches her while she's throwing up. Just mean, I have to say. But why drag it out if it's just a fight and just wait to the wedding? Again, there was no kind of resolution. Even Rich here in the chat's mentioning wedding episode did need a better resolution and a better way to present the conflicts. And I think this was one. It was like, well, you have to have a fight now, so just fight. But there was, I was just like, this is great, and I'm cool with it. And I like the fact that Titania is like, no fight, I'm here. This is what I want. I want She-Hulk, not you. Come, it has that fun rivalry bit that it's not super serious. It's just annoying. But like, anyway, what are your guys' thoughts of the whole thing?
I think the whole waiting the sucker puncher while she was throwing it was kind of the point. That's is that she wanted to pick her time, and she wanted to. She's a really despicable person, so she wanted to really catch her off guard out of Lois. But I think she was expecting her to immediately turn into the She-Hulk, and so that's why she was taunting her. And I kind of like when Jen was trying to turn into the She-Hulk, but she was too drunk to do it. Like that made sense. And this is a bit of comedy that worked for me, was how when she first appeared and she's like, "What? I'm not here for you. I just happen to be dating this guy. Not everything's about you, Jen." And then later she like punches her. "Yeah, of course I'm here for you." Like, I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah. So that's what I thought.
No, what about you, Alyssa? What was your take on the Titania fight?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing too. I mean, I think that was really the point of it. She just wanted to catch her, at the right moment, and she's throwing up, and that was her cue. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read too much into I didn't overthink it. I didn't think too much about it. Like she just went there to fight her, and that was her opportunity. I actually thought that Jen would have really been better off just not turning into She-Hulk and just pissing her off. And I almost thought she was going to do that. Just like, nah, I'm good. And just because I don't think Titania was just going to beat her up. Like, I think she wanted She-Hulk. So I almost thought for a second that might be where it went. But I almost felt like she was giving in by turning into She-Hulk, but of course she ended up kicking her ass. So she did.
Well, I think that was kind of the fun resolution because, I mean, she did lay a good there's a couple of stills you can find out there. I didn't use it for a thumbnail because I didn't want to do any spoilers for people that hadn't seen it before I posted. Of just a good clobber in the face on Titania's face. I mean, that was awesome. But I love the fact that it wasn't She-Hulk that did her in. It was kind of herself just slipping on the ice and bashed. Oh, for an influencer, that's got to be the worst ever. Her veneers were busted, the nasty teeth, and now giant fat lips. That's no good. That's only going to upset her even more. She's going to be a worst antagonist now.
Yeah, and there's in the credit animation they show her at the dentist.
Oh, I missed that one. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So you get her mouth all worked on. She's got a phone. She's taking a picture of the dentist as they're working on her.
Well, she's got to do this for another suit against Jen for causing her. Because she did, she was doing it in front of the cameras, which was going to work in her favor for a moment until she got damaged. And then she's laughing at people and their 11 followers. That's not going to shine well on social media. Social media is very fickle. We love you, social media. Don't ever turn on us.
No, yeah. So I kind of think that was perfect, and I think that she was humiliated in such a way that it was probably the best win that She-Hulk could possibly have. That instead of her actually beating her, she defeated herself and humiliated herself.
Yeah.
And so this may turn a lot of people against her. So I'm not sure exactly what direction they're going to take this in, but I'm sure it's going to lead to like a new dynamic with her. So I'm sort of waiting to see where they take it.
Okay. Well, and that pretty much kind of wrapped up the whole wedding bit. Suddenly, Lulu, who did not want She-Hulk there, is now drunk and very happy that She-Hulk is there, and hugging giant bosoms, and then it just ends.
Can we talk about the DJ and how he was so hyped for that fight? He was like, yeah,
the Incredible Hulk. Come on, that is awesome.
That was cousin Chet.
Yeah.
Was that Chet?
Yeah.
I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, she said that earlier in the episode. She's like, my cousin Chet's going to be the DJ there.
Yeah, right.
So the whole wedding fight and call out, and he already had the air horn ready to go. That was awesome. I wonder how many weddings he's DJ'd. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe in his experience, that's just going to happen sooner or later. It doesn't have to be superpowered people. It could just be Uncle Fred. Fred can't hold his liquor. All right. Well, was there any other parts of the whole wedding kind of storyline that stood out for you guys, or were particularly good, bad questions on? Any thoughts on there?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
No, I mean there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I think it more ties in with the other storyline. So
yeah.
Well,
so
and that's
Well, let's get on to the B story, because again, a shorter, simpler, but to be so much more amusing, just in its concept and its kind of simplistic delivery. Of course, because Jen is out at a wedding. Mallory, the very fancy lawyer that helped her out last week, is taking over some of her caseload and dealing with Mr. Immortal and divorce case. For those of you who were questioning why this person looked familiar, this is David Pasquesi. He played the Major Domo in Book of Boba Fett earlier in the year. The Twi'lek, who was helping out the mayor.
I did not even know that.
I personally liked him much better here. I'll just go ahead and say that. I liked Mallory and Nikki together. Wasn't quite sure how it did seem to start initially when Nikki was sticking her head in and making comments. Mallory was like, mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden they both kind of got into it in a lovely tete-a-tete. What did you guys think of this B story? The whole adventures of Mr. Immortal and his just poor decision making.
Well, I thought this is definitely funny. The funny part of the episode. This is more the Harvey Birdman stuff that I was looking for in the show, where it's the lawyers represent different superheroes or people with powers, and they try to relate it to like everyday life and stuff. So a guy's immortal, so he fakes his own death instead of getting a divorce. And it was just absolutely perfect to me. The first scene that explains it, when both the women get like really upset and start yelling at him and talking over each other, and he just like, okay, peace out, and just walks out of the window. It's just perfect.
You know, if you're immortal and you don't like conflict, relationships may not really be the thing for you. I'm just going to say, I just had my 19th wedding anniversary yesterday. And I will just say, I love my wife dearly, and conflicts are just part of the whole adventure there. Luckily, we should hit 20 at least. So I'm glad about that. Alyssa, what did you think of our B episode, or B storyline here?
Yeah, I really thought it was funny too. Really enjoyed it too. And yeah, that seems to be just how he escapes uncomfortable situations. He just kills himself, which I thought it was great. And yeah, I really had fun with this one too. And I like how Nikki came up with all those different solutions. And one of them is like, he's going to apologize to and look straight in the eye for 15 seconds. And then he comes up and is like, wait, what? I don't have to make it 20 seconds. And that's I love, you got to pay attention to the credit animation, because I love some of the stuff they have. And they had a scene with him, like, having a eye-to-eye conversation with the woman, and she was like going like this, like pointing to his eyes, and he's like sweating. Yeah, I really had a lot of fun with the Mr. Immortal storyline.
Yeah, and that compulsion to leave, I love. Even as they're all sitting around there and they're like trying to get to the settlement, he's like trying to stand up, and Mallory's like, "No, sit down, sit. You can't go kill yourself now. This isn't how adults deal with things."
Wasn't it one of the wives said something like, "Oh, when he accidentally swallowed a cyanide pill"?
You know, it happens. I'm sure it's one of those percentages on the, most common causes of death. Everybody occasionally, mistakenly swallows cyanide pill. Where would you even get those, by the way? Is it cyanide or arsenic that's in apple seeds? You have to grind up a lot of.
Can't remember.
I think it's arsenic.
Arsenic. Okay. Sorry, folks. No ways to find poisons here on this show. Yeah, and I have to say, I did love Nikki's solve on that, and how it was very personal. And of course, it's showing on that she has her particular strengths and understanding people and so on. The only criticism I would make of this is the fact that it kind of comes out of nowhere. They're talking about money and then who each one comes up. And then the next scene that we have is Nikki's just sitting there knowing exactly what each person wants. Which again, I had no problem with at all, but I did think about that afterwards.
I assumed that she just like figured it out off screen. Like,
sure,
we just didn't go through the minutia of her like figuring out what.
It was during the wedding. That's right. Okay. During the wedding. Okay.
Yeah, she figured it out with the groom of the wedding.
He wasn't doing anything really. Yeah. So again, this was I agree with you completely. This is totally the Harvey Birdman bit. It's very ridiculous. It's handled very quickly. It's a total simplistic setup, joke, complication, finale, wrap up. The one bit of information that we do gleaming from this to go forward is the mention of the website Intelligentsia, which one of the wives had used to find the video of Mr. Immortal crashing into cars and then pulling himself off again. I'm surprised there's not more of those. The way he seems to just be willing to toss himself out a window or walk into traffic under any. I mean, it's like if he's confused with the waiter and ordering his food, he's like, stab himself. Okay. So, but yeah, this is where we get our intelligentsia bit, which then Mallory and Nikki make a fun screen name for and sign in and find. well, some kind of disturbing information. I mean, Intelligentsia, despite its name, is basically a 4chan QAnon small dick heaven website, with tons of information and questions, very much against She-Hulk, including the how do we kill She-Hulk? And my question there is there a how do we kill other hero threads on the site, or is this focused purely on She-Hulk and or any female superheroes? I'm just wondering, is there an Iron Man version, Hawkeye, regular Hulk? You think? No. Okay.
I don't know.
I think this one, it seemed to me, at least the way they were presenting it, it was specifically geared towards She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the leader connection here is that Intelligentsia in the comics is a group of intelligent supervillains, of which the leader is a part of. So
that would really make sense.
So that's using that as the name of the website is kind of a hint toward the leader being involved.
Mm-hmm. I like that. It reinforces the whole leader thing. Would love to see Tim Blake Nelson by the end of this. Yeah. That would be, in fact, it's funny because when they did do their final little post-credit scene, of the lab, I was like, are we going to see someone with green hands? Weird forehead stuff, giant mask, anything? and I don't think they really gave any hints. This looked like just, evil lab, evil people, evil things.
Yeah, I was hoping we would actually see the leader on the screen too at the end of the episode, but no, not yet. We're not getting the reveal, whether it's the leader or whoever it is. We're not getting that reveal yet.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting that this early.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is what
I was hoping we might, but yeah, it's unrealistic to expect it this early.
Well, I think in the chat, Doc Moore cracked the whole thing, cracked the case. Nikki is Mephisto. There we go.
There you go. That's how she knows what the women wanted. Yeah.
Confirmed.
Silva Surfer in the chat also mentioning surprise. We haven't seen Foggy yet. That's true, though. There was the mention that, of course, this is all in L.A. and Matt Murdock and company is all New York. So we would have to assume that he would be out here on a case, doing a deposition, some sort of lawyerly visit. Which is why we may not run into any of the other people, Foggy, etc., because they would all be in New York. Dun, 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 dun. Is there something else in the chat that I saw? Oh, Doc Moore also mentioning the Madison character, I think, is a nod to Zombieland 2. Very much a character of the same, very similar to the character of the same name. I haven't seen Zombieland 2, so I will have to take your guess on that. But okay, yeah. So Evil Lab, obviously they still want to get She-Hulk's blood, and now they're going to try a bigger needle. I'm sure there's probably something more to it, but that's all that it looked like to me, is just a larger needle.
Well, I didn't notice from watching the show, but I watched some videos that suggested that is a vibranium needle.
Okay.
Yeah, because remember that guy on the day the Elon Musk guy was like, so how about vibranium? Would that break your skin? So
that's true. He does mention vibranium.
He did specifically ask about vibranium. She's like, I don't know.
And of course,
so they're trying vibranium.
We do have Wakanda Forever coming out. Is the next Marvel movie coming out? So we may want to do this as a tie-in. Maybe this is some sort of leak in if there's been a giant break-in of vibranium, and that's what's going. I don't know. I'm totally speculating.
Well, Casey says adamantium. I don't think we're getting adamantium yet.
No, I think they'll save that to.
What's adamantium?
X-Men.
Oh, right.
That's what Wolverine's bones are made out of, and
that is actually the strongest metal in the metal universe. Yeah. Actually, I think the strongest is the blend of adamantium and vibranium that technically Captain America's shield was in the comics, and that's why it was so unique and marvelous. But yeah, no. I think I think they're going to stay off of adamantium, X-Men, all those until well into phase 5, if not even into phase 6.
Or they could say at the very end, this is made out of adamantium.
No, don't do that. That was the one thing I wish they hadn't done in Miss Marvel. It's like it could be a mutation.
No, it's just going to be like anytime anyone says, "Oh, that looks like a mutation."
That was so horrible.
Every time somebody says mutation, that goes off. And it's going to be an ongoing joke.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just waiting for the character to go, is it Mephisto? Who? I don't know. I just felt the need to say that all of us. Never mind me, and then just wander back off. Just to have an audience participant in the show. So, this is, of course, the possibility at this point that now Josh, is he involved? Is he not? They did tie in the scene because, again, this was when Nikki decided against Mallory's advice to tell Jen that she found this website asking questions of how do we kill a She-Hulk. And I got to say, I support Nikki in that. I think you have to tell your friend if you find there's a website of people wondering to kill you.
Well, it kind of made me think that, God, I'm blanking on the lawyer's name, but
Mallory
kind of make me think she maybe had ulterior motives for not wanting Jennifer to know.
Well, so the show doesn't have to follow the comics, but didn't I hear like she's a villain in the comics, or she does something no good in the comics or something?
Yeah.
That particular character. That doesn't mean she is in the show, but
True, but it does make me sort of question her.
Yeah.
She is kind of too perfect in there, which you always have to question. But I have to say this is again where my familiarity with She-Hulk, the character, the Rogues Gallery is pretty much non-existent. So I have no comment that I can make on that. If they are, I would hope they'd save that for like a season 2 or 3 or later on. You don't have to spill all of your stuff all immediately. But, we'll find out. There's only 3 episodes left. There's only 3 episodes left, folks. And this is it. So we've got to get our Daredevil. We got to find out who's behind things. There's got to be more hijinks and a lot more lawyering. So any final thoughts before we go ahead and wrap things up tonight?
I don't have anything else to add.
No? All right. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed this review. Again, we do appreciate the likes, subscribes. Go ahead, make comments in there. What did you guys think about this week's episode? Want to be sure to thank everybody who was in the chat live today. Bill Casey, Doc Moore, Silver Surfer, The Rich Room, Eric Scott. Always awesome to see all of you. And thank you, everybody that joined us in the archive. Before we wrap things up, though, let's talk to these fine people and see what they're up to. Alyssa, what you doing on your channel? What things are going on with you?
Hi, I'm Alyssa at Alyssa Jeans Reviews. I just dropped my review for the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, which I'm reviewing every week. Also, tomorrow, if you want to come follow me on my channel, 4 o'clock West Coast time, I'm doing my monthly live chat where it's just me and a bottle of wine and just talking with the people. And I want to talk about some things that I haven't got a chance to cover on my channel, such as Lord of the Rings, such as the new Quantum Leap debuted this week. So I probably will talk about that. And I want to talk about, Andor. I'm sorry. Come join me tomorrow, 4 o'clock West Coast time. And then I will be back with these guys, or maybe I don't remember who's going to be on Monday, or if I'm going to be on Monday, but we are doing every Monday. We're doing House of the Dragon with Mark over on the Chat Room of Eternity. I think you're switching it up a little bit with the guests. I don't remember who's doing who, but I will be there at some point and joining Mark at the House of Dragon reviews on Mondays.
Yes, Mark, what about your House of the Dragon? And what wonderful guests do you have coming up this Monday?
Well, I'm not confirmed. But perhaps, maybe you might see Don and Willie from A Dawn of Ice and Fire. And I think the plan was also Alyssa. Yes, that is the Monday. So Monday nights, we're doing House of the Dragon discussions every Monday at 9 p.m. East Coast time. And on my channel, Enchantment of Eternity, also doing recorded reviews for Star Trek Lower Decks. I just have my latest one out today. And Lord of the Rings of Power, which is I don't think it's as good as House of the Dragon, but still reviewing it. Let's just see where that one's going. And various other videos on my channel, so be sure to check that out.
Excellent, excellent. And yes, you can often find me over on Enchantment Eternity with Mark here and Alyssa talking House of the Dragon. But of course, I'm going to be off this Monday, so Don Willie will be in. Man, really excited to see that one. It's been a while since we got to talk to Don, and he is the Westerosi just brain center. So I'm really curious how he's been taking in this particular series. And this is a good time to jump in as well, because this is going to be the time shift moving forward. A little bit of shift. I think we will be a little more action. So that should be a great discussion over on Enchantment Eternity on Monday at 6 p.m. But of course, you can always catch us here Thursday nights, at least for the next couple of weeks, talking She-Hulk Thursday nights at 6 o'clock Pacific. And as your questions may be for Andor, I know that we had some of those earlier. I'm not planning on doing a regular review of those, though we may do a mid-season and post-season discussion of that. I did watch the first 3 episodes. Overall, did really enjoy them. The payoff ultimately was really good, but the pacing is really kind of tough for me, and odd breaks in the episodes. And also, I'm finding this pattern that Disney is doing really short episodes when that's not what I want personally. Some stuff I really want to see an hour of storyline and not just being set out piecemeal. So that's my only little criticism, but you guys should check it out. It's definitely worth seeing, and would love to hear your opinions. Throw those down in the chat. Otherwise, we'll see y'all next week. Thanks so much. Take care, and bye-bye.